Hello, I'm Kulwant Kaur Rehal from IASPrimers and I'm going to take a class on this topic. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. So just giving a few viewpoints on what could be added in this essay which could make it different, right? So here, for example, I have taken up like this that let's see how the poets are better than the legislators when we look at their powers. Though the topic says it is unacknowledged legislators, so let us see how the powers are different. And here I have, I would like to suggest that legislators make the law, but then they are still bound by geographical area. But poets, when they talk about the ills of society. They talk for the betterment of society. Sometimes they criticize the government. So whatever they talk in verse, which is very impactful. They could use satire, they could use humor. And it's very effective way of reaching out, and sometimes in way of songs. But their reach is where they go almost worldwide. They go across the world. They reach out to the world. Right? So it is not only one area. So in that area, the powers of the poets will be more than that of legislators. Again, legislators have a small term, 5 years. But the impact of poems remain for times to come. I mean, we've seen poems from from the 6th century, 17th century, 15th century, the Bhakti movement, entire thing, still it impacts us. Even for the other poems, P.V. Shelley has written this from that time, all the from the Romantic era, so the Romanticism. So those poems, we still talk about them. So can you imagine the impact of poets? So, but then we're talking they're unacknowledged. In which context did P.V. Shelley say that they are unacknowledged? P.V. Shelley has written a lot of poems, and she had a lot of historical themes also. But unfortunately, or the fact is, they don't. In the end, they are poor. They die out of poverty. So somewhere that status, that is something that deprives them of living a life, fulfilled life. So in that way, yes, they are unacknowledged. Okay, having understood this, this is the general gist of the essay. So let's see how we proceeding here. So first we talk about the powers in the first paragraph and talk about how the poets and their thoughts are so widespread and they are still remembered. But still, the way we see that the poets end in this, in a way they have a financial crisis, and most of them are poor and die out of poverty. They don't make much money. So that is because they are unacknowledged in a way. They are not paid their worth. In this materialistic world, somewhere we need money to sustain. So that is one big form of status and recognition. So normally I used to say that one is recognize the worth you do wherever you work. You know your worth because of the salary. If you work for a lesser salary, that is your worth. So somewhere that thing happens. And if you're not getting any return for you get name, you get wah-wah and tarif and everything, but you don't get money for it. So then ultimately it is like being unacknowledged. Okay. So, but still here, in this aspect, we will say that they have a lot of powers that they can influence everybody. Okay. So the qualities of a poet. What are the qualities of a poet? They should have been in a legislator also. They should also have these qualities, but nevertheless, somewhere ambition, power, greed, overrule the baser qualities, overrule the higher qualities of the poets, which are humanity, empathy, sympathy, thinking of the common good, sharing, understanding. So all these things are qualities of a poet. And here we, how do this, and then we have the epics which we can talk of examples. For example, the Ramayana. So what was Ramayana all about? Ramayana is talking about family values. It talks about Ram, who, for him, the father's sacred vow or commitment was so much that he was willing to do anything for that. He went for 14 years in the forest. Then later, it was his citizens, his subjects, they were so important to him that when they had a problem, he was willing to listen to them, understand their viewpoint, and he stayed away from Sita. So the life of a king was very tough. Bharat, he did not sit on the seat, he was on the throne, but he had, he thought of his brother and did not grab the empire. So these are rich values which have come, and this is the highest form of poetry which we have in our epics. So all these family values that come. Now, isn't this one way of Valmiki has written this, and isn't it one way of saying that they are highly, highly acknowledged? Then we have the Mahabharata. Mahabharata, where the protagonist, Lord Krishna, tells Arjun, but everything is in the form of verse. And what is it that they're talking about? They're talking about family values, they're talking about the right, standing up for the right, not joining the bandwagon. Even if it's family and the family is wrong, you can stand against it, not to worry about results, but take action. So it talks about that. It is preached, it is the law in all temples, every place we talk about it, and that is how, depiction in pictures and form of art and culture. Somehow we have to talk about poems as one big form of art and culture, and that's how it is handed over the centuries. So poets have such a big role in playing, that the art and culture lives over the generations, over the centuries it has come. So these two epics of our country have worldwide impact. We have the ISKCON club, or should I say the movement, which we have the ISKCON movement, which is a foundation, which is all over the world. Isn't the impact worldwide? The impact is worldwide. Similarly, in the Bhakti movement, we have Ramanuja from the south, Guru Nanak from the north, and we have Kabir ji from the heart of India, almost the heart of India, right? So, and they have still, their sayings are even very applicable now, and they will always be applicable, and they are revered. Again, these are just to name three, but there are so many across our country. We are so rich in the poetic way. The lessons are handed over generation to generation, where the impact is worldwide, and they are highly, highly acknowledged. So at least half the essay we can talk about, they being highly, highly acknowledged. But then we need to shift. I'm not saying after half you should switch to being unacknowledged. No, not that way. But then nevertheless, most of these cases, the first two with the epics which we had, they were part of the legislation. They were the royal clan. They were the kings and the rulers. So that, I think they are very, very apt examples of legislators, the epics. They are the legislators. So there are no two ways about it. We are not going away from the topic. So here just these poets are the legislators. They made the law, they impacted the law, they have created the future, they have given us lessons and sermons, right? Fine. Besides that, we have our national song, we have a national anthem. So both, it is Rabindranath Tagore and Bankim Chatterjee. So both of them, they've sung songs, they've composed them and handed over generations, and they really, stir you and um, arouse the patriotic fervor in you. And these are the most important, I think, parts of our legislator. I mean, they are in that position. So again, and they are highly, highly revered. You can talk about that. So they are revered, they are highly acknowledged and revered, and they are part of legislators. So these two examples are directly part with legislators. Right? Now, we talked about the Bhakti movement also a little, but they are not part of the legislators. That there's a difference here. From when the Bhakti movement we are starting, they are not part. Now, they were not the rich clan. They were from the deprived society. I mean, Nanak was from agricultural background. Kabir was from, he was an orphan and from a weaver, right? Namdev was, Namdev, if I remember correctly, he was a cobbler. So they are very, very impactful in their whatever they've said, right? So that is what we talked about in the Bhakti movement. But these people, these saints here, they did not die rich. They were not acknowledged in the way that with riches. Probably they didn't need it, but this is the need of, this is the requirement. Somewhere because of lack of, as I said, money is a big form of acknowledgement. So that is there. So that way we feel that the acknowledgement versus acknowledgement is mainly in terms of material value and material things. That is mainly, I said. The second thing is, because the poets are so open in their criticism, not always open, they could be sarcastic, there could be a double meaning, but then the message does go out, you know, they convey, they could convey. So then when they convey, the legislators become uncomfortable. And at times, they could be put behind bars, sometimes they are threatened, sometimes they are banished from the kingdom, they might take refuge. We have examples like this. So that is again a issue. P.B. Shelley himself had to, he was in trouble because of historical this thing. No, somebody said also that why have you, why is he writing all this? And that is what is the use of poetry? And that is the time when he mentioned this line, the purpose of poetry. Right? So this is what we have to say in this essay. And then the state of the poet and the context, that is the context in which this was said, and this is how we can approach this essay. This is what I suggest, and that's again, as I always say, an essay has to be your own, and these are just a few pointers here, and I think I try to bring a different perspective to things, so you can bring your own add-on more. I made it more relevant to our country and the impact to the world, rather than just making it a literary piece with which people would do who have more of literature background. So that is what my take was on this essay. All the best, write your essay, because that is the only way you will actually learn to write essays. All the best, God bless you.